Good evening. A quick look at the headlines. The Prime Minister's COVID warning to all states need to avoid a second pandemic peak. Cases are surging in smaller towns. There is a need to prevent the expansion of the virus in villages. There is no vaccine shortage. The Health Ministry hits back at the opposition. 7.5 crore vaccine doses have been sent to the states, say the centre. The opposition says 5.8 crore doses exported, but only 3.5 crore have been used in India. And that perhaps has a great deal to do with what the government announced today, a shocker. There is 6.5% vaccine wastage in states. The worst offenders, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka and UP. Each dose so precious, but they just get wasted and thrown away. Surging cases in so many states now. Karnataka earmarks more beds for COVID patients. Karnataka to more than double doses to 3 lakh a day. Mamata Banerjee releases the Trinamool Congress's manifesto and promises 5 lakh jobs a year, free door-to-door ration deliveries. In the Ambani bomb scare case in Mumbai, the top cop, the Commissioner of Police, is replaced. Devendra Fadnavis of the BJP says the cops are a small fry. Who's their political boss? A BJP MP from Mandi dies by alleged suicide, the second MP to die apparently by suicide in a month. The government has rules which have brought down pollution, is what the Environment Ministry responds after a devastating report that says 22 Indian cities are among the top 30 places with the world's worst air quality. Our top story with India now. In the midst of a second wave of COVID, the Prime Minister has reached out to Chief Ministers to tell them to take decisive steps to stop the rise in numbers. Despite the overall vaccination numbers, India is still far from where we need to be. And the fact that no one seems to care about COVID protocol seems to indicate that many may have invited this wave of COVID upon themselves. And the big question remains, what were several state governments doing when it seemed self-evident that COVID would return if people weren't careful and if state governments didn't enforce the laws?
हमें कोरोना की उस उभरती हुई सेकंड पीक को तुरंत रोकना ही होगा और इसके लिए हमें क्विक और डिसाइसिव कदम उठाने होंगे। कम से कम समय में ट्रैक करना और आरटी-पीसीआर टेस्ट रेट 70% से ऊपर रखना बहुत अहम है। हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि कई राज्यों में रैपिड एंटीजन टेस्टिंग पर ही ज्यादा बल दिया जा रहा है और उसी भरोसे गाड़ी चल रही है। जैसे केरल है, उड़ीसा है, छत्तीसगढ़ है, यूपी है। इन सभी राज्यों में, मैं तो चाहता हूं देश के सभी राज्यों में हमें आरटी-पीसीटी टेस्ट और बढ़ाने पर जोर देना होगा। लेकिन इसके साथ ही हमें वैक्सीन डोसेज वेस्ट होने की समस्या को बहुत गंभीरता से लेना चाहिए। तेलंगाना और आंध्र प्रदेश में 10% से ज्यादा वैक्सीन वेस्टेज है। यूपी में भी वैक्सीन वेस्टेज करीब करीब वैसा ही है। वैक्सीन क्यों वेस्टेज हो रही है, इसकी भी राज्यों में समीक्षा होनी चाहिए और मैं मानता हूं हर रोज शाम को इसकी मॉनिटरिंग की व्यवस्था रहनी चाहिए। देखिए, इस लड़ाई में हम सफलतापूर्वक बच पाए हैं, उसका एक कारण था कि हम गांवों को इससे मुक्त रख पाए थे। लेकिन टियर 2, टियर 3 सिटी पहुंचा तो इसको गांव में जाने से देर नहीं लगेगी और गांवों को संभालना हमारी व्यवस्थाएं बहुत कम पड़ जाएगी।
India's COVID-19 cases now spreading to smaller towns and districts. In the last 15 days, 70 districts across 16 states have shown a spike of over 150%, while 55 districts across 17 states have shown a spike of between 100 to 150%. In places like Gwalior, it's as high as 360%.
रूप हमें पेंडेमिक का दिखाई दे रहा है। अब वो महामारी इस more so in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The earlier phase was much more intense in bigger cities. हमारे जो ग्रामीण क्षेत्र हैं, उनके और नजदीक हो गई है.
But as cases surge, the government today revealed the extent of vaccine wastage. It's as much as 6.5% nationally, but these four major states much higher. In Telangana, it's 17.6%. In Andhra Pradesh, 11.6%. Uttar Pradesh, 9.4%. Karnataka at 6.9% and Jammu and Kashmir at 6.6%. And in India, 6.5%.
और इस अमृत जैसी प्रेशियस कमोडिटी को सबसे महत्वपूर्ण आज के दिन में जो चीज है वो वैक्सीन है. अपने इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे लिए और देश के लिए इसमें वेस्टेज होना जो है वो बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है.
India's vaccine exports are also facing questions. Today, Shiv Sena leader Priyanka Chaturvedi raised questions on India's vaccine exports and pointed out that 5.8 crore vaccine doses have been exported while only 3.5 crore doses have been administered in India. Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee complained about centre not giving states enough vaccines, but government defended itself.
देश में वैक्सीन की कोई कमी नहीं है, ये मैं पहले भी आप लोगों को बता चुका हूं, पुनः निवेदन कर रहा हूं. 7,54,00,000 डोजेज अब तक भारत सरकार विभिन्न राज्यों को उपलब्ध करा चुकी है. इसके बाद यदि कोई कहते हैं कि देश को प्राथमिकता नहीं दी जा रही है, ये बिल्कुल आधारहीन और तथ्यहीन बात है.
So far, 1.3 crore people in the above 60 age group and those between 45 and 60 with comorbidities have been vaccinated. The government is yet to announce when it will open up vaccinations for rest of the age groups. In New Delhi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
For all people across the country who have one question that they're asking, why are we looking at COVID again? Perhaps COVID has been won. Why is anybody hyping these cases? Is that really the case? The vaccines are out or now everybody's safe. The answer is no, we aren't safe. COVID hasn't gotten away and we are very much in the midst of a second wave. Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor has the details, brings you the numbers of where India stands. Sonal.
That's right. Like, look at the numbers, for example. Today, the numbers have hit the worst, or perhaps it has not been this bad since December. Remember, that was post-Diwali, post all the marriages happening, unlock happening. That's the kind of surge that we saw then, and today we've been able to match that. Overall, India has jumped up and crossed about 25,000 mark, and that is an issue, and that is a thing that should concern you. Not panic you, but at least concern you. So what we have for you right now, like Vishnu said, are numbers over here, the 10 worst hit states. And remember, all these account to about 90% of the country's cases. Of course, top of the chart is going to be Maharashtra. Look at that number, 15,561 over there. Now, Maharashtra alone contributes to about 60% of what we are seeing in the country so far. Next up is actually Kerala. You see that number over here, about 1,800 over there. But though it's still in second in our ranking, Kerala is actually one of those which is showing a decline in the trend compared to the other states that you're looking at the moment. Punjab, huge concern, something that the Prime Minister also highlighted today in his meeting with the chief ministers. Also, concern at this point is Madhya Pradesh over here, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat, 700. And if that number is not clear, 789 cases coming in from Gujarat as well. Major concerns, and the number of fatalities there, both in Punjab and Gujarat, are turning out to be a matter of concern, something that the Prime Minister today also highlighted. So these are numbers. Remember, it impacts everything. It impacts schooling, as schools could be shut down again. It impacts markets. It also impacts the stock market, for example. So once you understand the numbers, let's look at how are we doing when it comes to the second wave altogether. You see the peak over here, right down between August and October, middle way over there. And then you see the constant spike. Again, the area that I talked about around December that time. And then we are here at the moment, 25,147 cases. This is the average daily cases, remember. And amidst of all of this, there's a fascinating another story that is emerging, and that is a story about vaccines. And you heard right there the Health Ministry official also talking about it. Now look at this chart. domestic doses so much lower than the amount that India is actually exporting. The worrying figure over here is that even with this number, there is vaccine wastage that is happening, something that again was highlighted today and something we must all keep in mind.
Well, one of the states which is an area of huge concern is Karnataka. On the 1st of March, there were 443 cases and a 7-day moving average that's gone up to 751. So the rise in numbers is significant. At the same time, and this is problematic, the number of tests as a 7-day moving average appears not to be keeping pace. Now, speaking to reporters after an important meeting between chief ministers and the Prime Minister, the Karnataka Chief Minister said that the state will step up measures to contain COVID. Here's what he said.
Observe COVID appropriate behavior to earmark more beds, ICUs, etc. for COVID patients. It is decided to set up 3 COVID care centers in Bengaluru to advance to take care of an immediate surge. We are also focusing on intensifying vaccination drive with about 3,500 centers across the state. We have planned to increase the vaccination to about 3 lakh persons per day.
Well, Maya Sharma joins us now from Bengaluru for more on this. Maya, I think one of the most concerning statistics which have now emerged is that the number of tests being done in Karnataka is just not keeping pace. What does the state government intend to do to fix that?
From 1.5 lakh tests or less per day to 3 lakh tests per day in 3,500 the state where vaccinations will in fact take place. So 3 lakhs a day, that's an ambitious target. But they say we will make that happen. And the reason, of course, the numbers have been rising. For December, it was pretty compared to other states.
Maya,
the numbers
I have
were fairly
to interrupt
low.
you. There's a problem with your audio on the cable. Let me try and fix that. Sorry, apologies to our viewers. An audio problem over there. News now from West Bengal ahead of the assembly elections, and Mamata Banerjee has released the Trinamool Congress Manifesto, which has promised 5 lakh jobs a year and free door-to-door ration delivery.
A first for Mamata Banerjee, a manifesto on a wheelchair. But once it was out, she rained fire and brimstone on the BJP.
High-loaded virus, a political party is playing all the nasty game, the dirty game.
In the manifesto, 10 points she is banking on to reel in the votes. Top 3 priorities? First, a minimum monthly income for all. 500 rupees for general caste families, 1,000 for SC, ST and OBCs. And a plan to expand the list of OBCs. Next, a credit card for students to cover education costs. Rupees 10 lakh limit, interest at the rate of 4%. And finally, for farmers, 10,000 rupees per acre per annum, up from an existing rupees 6,000. Mamata Banerjee's focus on SC, ST and OBC communities hard to miss, and matched yesterday's announcement by BJP President J.P. Nadda that so-called left-out Hindu castes like Teli and Mahisya would be included in the OBC list in Bengal. Opponents are yet to react to the manifesto, but even before it was released, BJP complained to EC about Mamata Banerjee's promise of free home delivery of rations. She turned that into an opportunity to attack.
Why they are not asking Narendra Modi not to go for publicity regarding vaccine or anything? Why Man Ki Baat, everything is going on? Why Election Commission is not taking action against of them?
BJP is still struggling with its candidate list. Mamata wheelchairing ahead, at least in this round. With G.D. Shankar, Mamata Banerjee, NDTV.
Well, troubling questions for the suspended Mumbai police officer Sachin Vaze after the National Investigating Agency that looks into terror probe seized a black vehicle, a Mercedes-Benz car, which was allegedly used by Vaze And the first head seems to have rolled in this case, with the Maharashtra government deciding to transfer Parambir Singh, the police commissioner, out of his post.
Mumbai's police commissioner Parambir Singh has been transferred as DG Home Guard after the department's disastrous handling of the Ambani bomb scare case. On Feb 25th, a Scorpio with explosives was found near the residence of Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man. The NIA alleges the number plate of the vehicle has been recovered from a car that Sachin Vaze was using. This CCTV footage shows a PPE-clad man near the Ambani residence around the same time. The NIA believes this is Vaze after recovering some clothes from the Mercedes car he was using. The NIA also claims the fingerprints on the Scorpio match with Vaze's and that Vaze was travelling in an Innova tailing a Scorpio car.
सीज किया है जिस सीजर में जो स्कॉर्पियो पे नंबर प्लेट थी उसको रिकवर किया है, 5 लाख से ज्यादा कैश रिकवर किया है, एक नोट काउंटिंग मशीन रिकवर की है, कुछ कपड़े रिकवर किए हैं और इसके बीच में जांच जारी है.
The owner of the Mercedes says he had sold the car to a portal that sells used car.
अभी तक मुझे कोई ऑफिशियल लेना है पर्सन या लोकल पुलिस किसी की तरफ से कॉल नहीं है, बट अगर ऐसा कुछ आता है तो मैं 100% उनको कोऑपरेट करूंगा और जो कुछ डॉक्यूमेंटेशन उनको चाहिए वो मैं सारे प्रोवाइड करूंगा.
According to the owner of a number plate shop, Sachin Vaze had also taken away the video recorder for his CCTV cameras, but he does not remember the exact day of his visit. Vaze is accused of also taking and wiping out CCTV footage from his own apartment block.
उनकी पूरी टीम आई थी, 5 लोग थे करीबन, तो DVR लेके गए और फिर उसके बाद वहाँ पे मुझे बुलाया गया.
The opposition BJP is using Vaze's past association with the Shiv Sena to target the government.
ये परमवीर सिंह या सचिन वाजे बहुत छोटे लोग हैं. इनका नाम लेके ये कभी गुत्थी सुलझने नहीं वाली है. सचिन वाजे को ऑपरेट करने वाले जो सरकार में बैठे हुए लोग हैं, उनकी जांच कौन करेगा?
However, the key question still remains. What was Vaze's motive that he would allegedly commit such an act? And how could a cop commit a crime and leave behind a trail of evidence? In Mumbai with Sunil Singh, Saurabh Gupta, Joshua Chin for NDTV.
Another blot on the record of the national capital and India for that matter. Of the world's 30 most polluted cities, 22 are in our country, with the national capital being ranked as the most polluted capital city in the world.
India's seat of power, surrounded by the worst air pollution of all global capitals measured in a new report. But the government is on the defensive. The Environment Minister says pollution levels are falling.
पोल्यूशन तो सब जगह है दुनिया में, सभी शहरों में प्रदूषण की अलग अलग समस्या है. इतने छोटे भूभाग पर अगर इतनी बड़ी संख्या में लोग रहते हैं, वाहन रहेंगे, उद्योग रहेंगे, उद्योगों के लिए हमने नए मानक लाए और इसके कारण उद्योगों का प्रदूषण भी कम हुआ है. तो ये सब निजात करते हैं और तभी प्रदूषण कम होता है और मुझे विश्वास है कि हमारे प्रयास सार्थक रहेंगे.
Delhi's levels of PM 2.5 is an annual average of 84 micrograms per cubic meter. This is over 8 times the World Health Organization's safe limits. PM 2.5 is the really tiny, really toxic pollutant particles. Ironically, the report coincides with the centre's Air Quality Management Commission being wound up, as the government did not get it ratified in Parliament, raising questions on the government's commitment to clean India's air. In its short-lived term, the Air Quality Commission management was barely heard, let alone seen. But sources there say that they expect the commission to return with an expanded mandate and more powers. But India's air quality crisis rolls on. Overall, Ghaziabad is the second most polluted city in the world. In all 22 of the 30 places with the worst air quality are in India, most of these in the north.
If you see those 22, several of the cities in the neighboring states of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan and Punjab are listed, which are contributing to the air quality degradation of national capital region significantly.
The health costs of air pollution are severe, from asthma to cognitive issues to heart strokes and even heart diseases.
Experts believe that this has caused at least 1.6 million deaths in 2019 alone. But cutting down pollution to the World Health Organization's limits could add as much as 9 years in Delhi to a resident's life. With camera person Sushil Rathi in Delhi, Shunakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
Well, it's time now for us to take this short break.